I warned you about India. What do you know? I think Tennessee ended up losing, didn't they? Yeah. Houston eliminated Tennessee from the NCAA tournament. It isn't. I mean, it's a tough loss, but it's a number 1 seed versus number. It's not like an upset or anything. Sucks.
What you think about when you're born into a fire?
I'm here for the amazing overlays. Look out. I do take a lot of pride in the stream.
They wanna let the world decay. They tell us
I need to build some new donation animations.
fade away, we feel betrayed.
I used to, before I started streaming, I learned OBS for like something else I was doing to help someone else, and then I found people who just could not use OBS, so I started customizing other people's streams for money. Well, I helped a lot of people, but also people paid me, and I did that for a little bit, and then I thought, well, I could probably stream. Yeah, if you've never worked with OBS, it's very weird. It's not like any other program you might have had experience with. But then stuff like StreamYard and stuff came out, and if you couldn't use OBS, you just went to one of those. So it kind of, I don't know, wasn't a lot of demand for it. I'm gonna lock the doors. You guys got to stay in here until we get the donations. We'll have the ushers lock the doors. This is a gift, okay? You guys gotta give if you want to get.
Hey daddies, it's me, the Linda Binda from TikTok. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to thank you for watching Cold Beer Confessionals with Will Bird. I think that's just incredible. I've watched a few episodes and I'm just like very intrigued. But you know what I'm most intrigued in is Big Daddy's meat stick. I heard that it's very thick, like a good old German sausage. You know, Linda and her coochie loves that. Oh, never mind. Let's not go there. Anyways, I hope you have a good show and enjoy it as you can. There's a lot of weird things that go on, especially when it comes from the realm of Linda Bindaland. So, enjoy the show. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Welcome, everybody. I am Will Bird. That was Linda Binda. Fan of the show. Not really. That was a paid cameo. But thanks anyways. Thank you guys for joining us. I'm Will Bird. This is Cold Beer Confessional. I appreciate you guys coming in, hanging out with me. So, first of all, if you want to support the show, do that at coldbeer.fund. I need to say that more during the show. I usually say it once at the beginning and once at the end. If you want to support the show, do it at coldbeer.fund. Coldbeer.fund. Anyways, there was I think it was 3 or 4 nights ago at the end of the show, we were just talking about all the bad shit that was happening. And I told you that there's already a strike group in the Persian Gulf, and they're moving another strike group to the Persian Gulf. And I don't think I went over the numbers, but I'm pretty sure at one time we had 19 B-2 bombers. People see B-2 bombers and they think they're like everything else we have, where we just have like thousands of them. We have like 19 B-2 bombers, okay? The stealth bomber. We had 19 at one time. One was put out of commission. One crashed. And I can't remember if there's a third one that's out of commission or not. So we either have 16 or 17 B-2 bombers, okay? And satellite imagery and some internet sleuths picked up that we had moved a quarter of all the B-2 stealth bombers that we have. 4 of them to Diego Garcia. And people that don't know what they're talking about was like, oh, we're moving B-2 bombers to deal with the Houthis. We don't need B-2 bombers for the Houthis, okay? We don't. Yes, they have anti-aircraft. Yes, they do this. We can do that with a fucking F-18 or an F-16 or what. We don't need B-2 bombers for a bunch of guys hanging out in Yemen, okay? We moved them there, and I predicted that there was either going to be a pretty wild threat or we were literally going to attack Iran. Trump has this fixation on the Iran nuclear deal that he had them broke. They didn't have any money. Their country was falling apart. And then Obama or Biden or somebody came in and revitalized them and took them over and blah, 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 whatever. He has this weird, you hear him talk about it all the time, even though Iran's kind of, they do support like Hamas. They do proxy attacks on Israel. They've got drones in Ukraine, like attacking Ukrainian soldiers that they've went back and through with Russia. But they're not like flagrantly like calling out America. It's just weird how fixated he is with them on the world stage, right? And it makes it worse that Iran secretly, supposedly, has been hacking his campaign and people around him. Not to mention, there are rumors and intelligence that signal that that Iran would like to have him assassinated. And he's a big ego guy, right? He wants everybody to worship him. He wants everybody to say he's the smartest, he's the bravest, he's the greatest, he's the whatever. And Iran doesn't do that. So it looks like with the strike groups moving in to the Middle East, that's not, I mean, some of that could be for like Houthis and like security and make sure the Red Sea stays out, all that, right? But 2 strike groups and 4 stealth bombers, a quarter of our nuclear capable B-2 bombers are now within a striking distance of Iran. It seems like we're going to go end up in Iran. And then Trump comes out and says if they don't come to the table, we're going to start bombing. He wants them to come to him to negotiate a new nuclear deal. And he threatens there will be bombing in Iran. So I just grabbed one of the first videos that popped up. This is from Sky News. Let's see if they've got the clips here.
On Iran, the president said he's also considering secondary tariffs if Iran doesn't agree to a nuclear deal. Quote, if they don't make a deal, there will be bombing, and it will be bombing the likes of which they have never seen before.
If they don't make a deal, there will be bombing. It'll be bombing the likes of which they've never seen before. A nuclear-capable Iran, right? They've already announced that they've got their rockets on fucking launch pads. This is like an AI cut. What the fuck is this? Trump's comments come after Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian announced the Islamic Republic rejected direct negotiation with the U.S. over its nuclear program. Somebody told me that Trump floated the idea that in 2028, J.D. Vance can run to be president. He'll be vice president. And then when he's elected, they'll swap positions. Is that true? The president of Iran left open the possibility of indirect negotiations with Washington. It'd be the 54th state. I didn't realize this is an AI edit like this. President Trump has responded to the announcement threatening bombs and secondary tariffs. I wanted to see, part of it was on a phone call. I've been catching up on this. Part of it was on a phone call. Let's see. Trump. But I'm pretty sure he answered a reporter as well. Rejects negotiations. Let's see what this one is.
And we are following some breaking news that we wanted to let you know about. This coming out of Iran as the Iranian president has rejected direct negotiations with the United States over its nuclear.
Dude, what's crazy is Iran is like the worst of what can happen when religious zealots, authoritarian religious governments take over. If you go look at pictures of Iran in like the 70s, it looked like a pretty cool place. Then they we have like far right Christian nationalists now trying to take over and restrict and do things. That's what happened in Iran.
Program. The very latest is that Iran's president saying earlier today that the Islamic Republic rejected direct negotiations with the United States over its nuclear program. Also offering Tehran's first response to a letter that President Trump sent to the country's supreme leader. The president saying that Iran's response left open the possibility of indirect negotiations with Washington.
That's like the greatest reach ever. When they say, hey, we completely said fuck off when they said let's do negotiations. But that doesn't mean they're not open to indirect negotiations.
However, such talks have not made any progress since President Trump, during his first term, unilaterally withdrew America from Tehran's nuclear deal with world powers in 2018. Since President Trump, during his first term, unilaterally withdrew America from Tehran's nuclear deal with
what was that?
Powers, have not made any progress since President Trump, during his first term, unilaterally withdrew America from Tehran's nuclear deal.
We had them in a nuclear deal. We had them in a nuclear deal. We had inspectors that would go around. right? We had people in the country. We had third-party watch group. They threw everybody out, and Trump destroyed the deal.
With world powers in 2018. You're taking a live look right here at the White House as we continue to follow this breaking news. In the years since that, regional tensions have only increased into attacks at sea and land coming after the Israel-Hamas war in Gaza, which saw Israel target militant group leaders across Iran's self-described axis of resistance. Now, as the U.S. conducts intense airstrikes targeting the Houthi rebels of Yemen, the risk of military action targeting Iran's nuclear program does remain on the table. Iran's president saying, quote, "We don't avoid talks. It's the breach of promises that has caused issues for us so far. They must prove they can build trust." The White House, though, not offering immediate reaction to this announcement. This comes as President Trump's letter following both Israel and the United States warning they will never let Iran acquire a nuclear weapon, leading to concerns over a...
So basically what the Iran deal was Iran, which they had some violations during it. It wasn't a perfect deal, but Iran agreed to limit its nuclear program to prevent development of nuclear weapons. But in return, sanctions were lifted. They could rejoin basically the world economy. And it was a deal to hopefully prevent future conflicts over their nuclear weapons program. Right? It didn't address, a lot of people were like, well, it doesn't address Hezbollah, and it didn't. A lot of people thought they wouldn't hold up to their end of the bargain. But that's in negotiations and talking and inspectors there to where we can prove like, hey, you're not holding up to your end of the bargain is better than being thrown out of the country. Nobody's allowed in. You can't see anything. We have no idea what they're doing, right?
Military confrontation as Tehran enriches uranium at near weapons grade levels, which is something only done by atomic armed nations. Iran has long maintained its...
It never really had a lot of time, enough time for everything to settle out.
Program is for peaceful purposes, even as its officials increasingly threaten to pursue the bomb. Since President Trump returned to the White House, his administration has consistently said that Iran must be prevented from acquiring nuclear weapons. A report in February by the UN's nuclear watchdog said Iran has accelerated its production of near weapons-grade uranium. So we are continuing to follow that breaking news as earlier today, Iran's president rejecting direct negotiations with the United States over its nuclear program. Any new developments, of course, we will bring that to you right here on Live Now from Fox.
And then this one, he was answering questions today.
We had a good time this weekend. We had a lot of very interesting things happen. I think we're making a lot of progress on Ukraine and Russia. It's always conflict, but I think we're making a lot of progress getting it stopped. We just want to see thousands of soldiers a week stop dying, because they're dying at numbers that probably haven't.
Why was the Iran deal hated unilaterally by the right? Because Israel hated it. Israel hated it, right? Israel wanted the U.S. to put pressure on Iran to get them out of Iraq and stop funding Hezbollah and stop sending money here and stop doing that. It was Israel didn't want it. And the right is hardcore in bed with Israel. A lot of the left is too, but the right overwhelmingly.
Second World War for no reason whatsoever. It's a shame. It's a shame. So I think we are making progress. Step by step, there's tremendous hatred between.
Who knows what the fuck he's going to do with tariffs? He doesn't even know how they work.
The leaders, if you call the whole situation leaders.
Making every car that you sell in the United States is just not, it doesn't make sense, right? The reason companies like Toyota produces the Tundra, their full-size pickup truck in the U.S., is because it's for an American audience. You don't see full-size pickup trucks hardly ever in Europe, especially in Japan. It makes sense for them to make things like that are for North America in North America, right? It doesn't make sense for them to produce their sports car or something they sell in Japan in the United States because they might sell some in the United States. So I don't think that one single model of car is going to go up 25%. What I think manufacturers will do is they'll look at their entire lineup. Some of them produced in the U.S., some of them not. And they'll raise their entire lineup, let's say 13 or 17%, whatever it takes to offset the tariffs on the ones they sell. Rather than raising like, let's say the Forerunner, I don't even know if they make the Forerunner anymore. Let's say the Forerunner is not in the U.S., but the Tundra is made in the U.S. So the Tundra will go up as well, too, in price to offset the Forerunner sales that they know the tariff's going to be on. So the Forerunner will not go up a full 25%. Instead, they'll both go up 12.5% or some shit.
But I think we'll get that done. And the Middle East, a lot of things are happening with respect to Iran. And we'll see if we can get something done. And if not, it's going to be a bad situation. Very, very bad.
Bro, I was raised to basically hate Obama, right? Obama was almost the Antichrist. Everything he did was bad. He wasn't respectful to the office. People around me were saying, like, he wasn't from the U.S. and he had a prayer rug hung up. Like, hate Obama. That's just the mentality that I was raised up in, okay? I graduated in 2007. Hate Obama. And I find myself wishing so much that either he or someone that can actually speak like him would come back to the fucking White House. A lot of bad things with Iran. They're bad guys. We're the good guys. Very bad.
Oil sanctions that you mentioned today, when will they start?
So we have a couple.
He doesn't know how tariffs work. He doesn't know how tariffs work. He still thinks that the other countries are paying tariffs.
The secondary tariffs on Iran, and we'll probably give it a couple of weeks, and if we don't see any progress, we're going to put them on. We're not putting them on right now, but if you remember, I did that 6 years ago, and it worked very well, to put it mildly. And if the election weren't rigged, you would have a situation where there would be no problem with Iran today, but it was. Biden didn't know what he was doing, obviously, and we have a very rough situation in the Middle East because of that. You ended up with October 7th, and you would have never had October 7th, and you would have never had Russia going into Ukraine like was. But we're going to make a decision on secondary tariffs on Iran based on whether or not they're going to make a deal. If they're going to make a deal, then we're never going to put secondary tariffs on. We're going to hope they have a great...
If anything, after we pulled out of the nuclear deal, Iran has went harder at their proxy network of militants, right? And their missile program has expanded. Their nuclear program definitely has expanded. So you can say like the Iran nuclear deal didn't do enough, but it did something compared to now where they're just wide the fuck open, doing whatever they want.
Long and successful life as a country. But we'll see what happens. It's very interesting. I can't imagine them doing anything else but making a deal. I would prefer a deal to the other alternative, which I think everybody in this plane knows what that is. And that's not going to be pretty, and I do not prefer that.
So, Mr. President, on the tariffs, you said that you were at one point that the tariffs Tuesday would be more conservative than what people might think. There's reports that you are maybe now looking to make the tariffs higher. So are you weighing higher tariffs? Or?
The tariffs will be far more generous than those countries were to us, meaning they will be kinder than those countries were to the United States of America over the decades. They ripped us off like no country's ever been ripped off in history. And we're going to be much nicer than they were to us, but it's substantial money for the country, nevertheless.
On the tariffs that you're planning, so you're expecting to hit something like 10 to 15 countries, is that right?
No.
All of the countries?
Is it across the board?
Not 10. I don't know who told you 10 or 15 countries.
We're going to start with all countries. We'll start with all of them.
countries. I haven't heard a rumor about 15 countries, 10 or 15.
So you're starting with all countries?
Essentially, all of the countries that we're talking about, wouldn't be talking about.
What? When you say all countries, then you say, well, essentially all the countries we're talking about. What are we not? Which ones is that?
All countries, that's not a cutoff. And if you look at the history and you look at what's happened to us, you go to certain places, go to Asia, and you take a look at every single country in Asia, what they've done to the United States in trade, and by the way, in military in a certain way. You look at, take a look at trade with Asia, and I wouldn't say anybody is treated as fairly or nicely, and but we are going to treat them. We're going to be much more generous to them in terms of heart. We're going to be much more generous than they were to us.
You said you were not joking about a third term, about possibly wanting a third term. Does that mean you're not planning to leave office on January 20th?
I'm not looking at that, but I'll tell you, I have had more people ask me to have a third term, which is in a way a fourth term, because the other election, the 2020 election was totally rigged. So it's actually sort of a fourth term in a certain way. I just don't want the credit for the second, because Biden was so bad, he did such a bad job. And I think that's one of the reasons that I'm popular, if you want to know the truth. I think I'm popular because we've done a great job. I think we've had the best almost 100 days of any president. And most people are saying that. And it's an honor. We're bringing back our country. We're respected as a country again. And we're strongly respected. And people are amazed. I was with some very important people today, and they said that they've never seen a turnaround of a country as fast as this.
Yeah, especially on the stock market. We've never seen the stock market crash so quickly.
Look at our border. We have nobody coming in. And you can come into our country, but you have to come in legally. But we have nobody coming in to our country. It's almost shut down. They've never seen anything like this.
At an appropriate precedent.
Limits a president to 2 terms. Is it your understanding that they have to
I don't
be...
even want to talk about it. I'm just telling you, I have had more people say, please run again. They said, we have a long way to go before we even think about that.
Look at his... I can't even stand to fucking look at him, dude. Look at his coloring. This is what color he actually is. Why do they make him look so bad with his makeup? Like it's a real hit and miss design they got going on there.
But I've had a lot of people. Yeah, go ahead. Did you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, do you think that's an appropriate precedent to set, even if it wasn't you in this position, to see a president serve a third term?
I don't want to talk about a third term now because no matter how you look at it, we got a long time to go. We have a long time. You know, we have almost 4 years to go. And that's a long time. But despite that, so many people are saying, you've got to run again. They love the job we do. Most importantly, they love the job we do.
So you said you were upset with Putin. Would you say your relationship with Vladimir Putin is at its lowest point right now?
No, I don't think so. I don't think he's going to go back on his word. You're talking about Putin. I don't think he's going to go back on his word. I've known him for a long time. We've always gotten along well, despite the Russia hoax. It's a hoax created by Clinton and Schiff and all of these lunatics. And that really was a dangerous point. That was a very dangerous thing they did to this country. It was a pure, unadulterated scam, hoax. But no, I think he'll be okay. But if he isn't, I was disappointed in a certain way. Some of the things that were said over the last day or two having to do with Zelensky, because when he considers Zelensky not credible, he's supposed to be making a deal with him, whether you like him or you don't like him. So I wasn't happy with that. But I think he's going to be good. And I certainly wouldn't want to put secondary tariffs on Russia, but...
listen how stupid this Fox News alert that I just got is, okay? Just got an email from Fox News about a story. And if from today, here's what it says. How unrelated are these two things? It says Tesla hypocrisy. Dems continue investing in Elon Musk's company despite painting him as a villain. As the violent attacks, vandalism, and doxing against Tesla owners and workers continues, some Democrats continue to invest in the company despite their party villainizing Elon Musk as corrupt and a Nazi. In the last several weeks, a Tesla dealership in Las Vegas was firebombed. A man rammed a four-wheeler into multiple Teslas in Texarkana. Tesla's vehicles across the country have been keyed, and a website called DogeQuest has been set up to dox Tesla owners, seeming to encourage violence against everyday Americans. Democrats have largely ignored those attacks and continue to hit Musk with personal attacks. AOC says he's sympathetic to Nazis and one of the most unintelligent billionaires I've ever met. Does that have anything to do with Tesla stocks? Can the thing she says be true and also other people still invest in Tesla? Despite their rhetoric, some Democrats are investors in the company, currently bearing the brunt of Musk's hatred. Reps Josh Gadamer from New Jersey, Vincent Gonzalez, Gil Cisneros, Rokana have all purchased Tesla shares since the inauguration. House Democrats Pat Ryan, Jared Moskowitz, Adam Smith, and Dwight Evans also have investments in Tesla. Now listen to this. This is so fucking stupid. Got him here? 1 month into the new Trump administration, Cisneros went on Forbes, breaking news, to slam Elon Musk and President Donald Trump, calling the first month of the administration atrocious and saying that the Department of Government Efficiency is causing destruction. He also slammed Musk personally, saying he basically bought himself the presidency of the United States, and I have no doubt he is the one calling the shots. Just days later, he purchased between $1,000 and $15,000 worth of Tesla stocks as the company faced a protracted decline in value. Like you how fucking broken is your brain that you can't understand? I can say Elon Musk is evil, and I can still invest in multiple companies, including Tesla. What the fuck is? What the fuck? How is this a news alert?
If they were put on, it would not be very good for them.
By the way, they almost always invest with some investment firm that's doing research, that's throwing money into different stocks.
We put secondary tariffs on, as you know, in Venezuela, and it's had a very strong impact on Venezuela. You know that every ship just got out and they left. A lot of them left. They dropped the hoses right into the ocean and they left. They didn't want to be there for a minute because it had nothing to do with Zelensky, because when he considers Zelensky not credible, he's supposed to be making a deal with him, whether you like him or you don't like him. So I wasn't happy.
He's very mad at Putin now. Just remember, he's very mad at Putin.
With that, but I think he's going to be good, and I certainly wouldn't want to put secondary tariffs on Russia, but if they were put on, it would not be very good for them. You know, we put secondary tariffs on, as you know, in Venezuela, and it's had a very strong impact on Venezuela. You know that every ship just got out and they left. A lot of them left. They dropped the hoses right into the ocean and they left.
The ships dropped their hoses right in the ocean and just pulled out.
Want to be there for a minute because they didn't want those tariffs to catch on, or they didn't want me to see them there. So the Venezuela secondary tariffs, all secondary tariffs are very strong, because essentially it says if you disobey our orders, you cannot do business in the United States of America, and that's the cash cow.
Will that apply to Chinese companies buying Russian oil as well, if you plan to go ahead with those?
So if, in the case of Venezuela, as you know, China pulled up anchor and left, ahead. Any other questions?
TikTok. On TikTok. The deadline's coming
Working
up.
on TikTok. We have a lot of potential buyers. There's tremendous interest in TikTok. The decision's going to be my decision, as you know, through Congress. They've given me the power to make the decision. We have a great team of people essentially taking bids. We have a lot of people that want to buy TikTok. We're dealing with China also on it because they may have something to do with it, and we'll see how that goes. But it's something I think you're going to have. I'd like to see TikTok remain alive. I mean, I'll be honest, selfishly speaking, I won the young vote by 36 points. Republicans generally don't do very well with the young vote, and I think a lot of it could have been TikTok. It could have been Joe Rogan, and it could have been a lot of things, but it was also TikTok.
Joe Rogan had one of the dumbest takes, which is hard to do. Had one of the dumbest takes I've ever heard from him. And he said so many dumb things.
TikTok is it's very interesting. A lot of people want to buy it.
If no deal, will you extend the deadline?
Well, there'll be a deal with TikTok. We would.
Mr. President, a deadline for Russian President Vladimir Putin. Is there a deadline for Russian President Vladimir Putin to agree to a ceasefire?
It's a psychological deadline. If I think they're tapping us along, I will not be happy about it.
Do you think right now?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think he wants to make it.
Donald Trump has finally realized what the rest of the world already knew for years and years and years and have been screaming at him, that you can't trust Putin. Holy fuck.
Deal. And I think Zelensky, by the way, I see he's trying to back out of the rare earth deal. And if he does that, he's got some problems. Big problems. We made a deal on rare earth. And now he's saying, well, I want to renegotiate the deal.
I don't think they've signed anything.
He wants to be a member of NATO. Well, he was never going to be a member of NATO. He understands that. So if he's looking to renegotiate the deal, he's got big problems. Go ahead.
Mr. President, have you had any more outreach from the automakers, and are you reconsidering that at all?
No. The automakers are going to make a lot of money, the American automakers, or international automakers if you're talking about they're going to build in the United States. The people that are going to make money are people that manufacture cars in the United States. Outside of the United States, that's going to be up to them. I don't care too much about that. But you have a lot of companies coming.
They're basically, Ukraine is still reviewing the deal that he wants to do over the rare earth. Not raw earth, which he said for 2 weeks. They're still reviewing it. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't have any confidence in Trump. The way he fucking attacked him and come out on social media and said that, we need these elections, even though parts of our country are fucking occupied. Like, people are like, well, we had elections during world wars. Yeah, but could you imagine if Florida and North Carolina and South Carolina and Georgia were occupied by North Korea? How we'd have a fucking election?
Into the country to manufacture cars. As you know, the Auto Workers Union, I did great. I won Michigan by a lot. But the Auto Workers Union, they were fantastic to me. But now they're really fantastic. And even Sean Fain, who I don't know, but he obviously wasn't a supporter of mine. He's a Democrat.
They have, I'm sure they want to join the EU more than they want to keep Trump happy. That's a lot of this was kicked off with them trying to be more Eurocentric, right? And the former president refusing to do that, then getting ran out of office, protests.
He said wonderful things about Donald Trump. He said, I can't believe this is finally happening. The people that manufacture automobiles in the United States are going to make money the likes of which they've never seen before. But beyond that, we have the computer companies, the chip companies, the pharmaceutical companies. We have lumber. We have everything. Steel. They're all going to do really well as long as they do their product in the United States. Thank you very much, everyone.
There's a lot of discussion about stagflation now. Is that something that you're worried about, given the impact of your efforts to readjust the economy?
I haven't heard that term in years. No, I don't know anything about it. This country is going to be more...
Oh, you haven't heard that term in years? I don't know, 4 years maybe? Jesus Christ.
Successful.
The trickle-down economy ultimately leads to stagflation, right? It doesn't trickle down. The wealthy keep their money. They do invest sometimes to make more money. And then they stack it all away for generations to come.
Than it ever was. It's going to boom. We're going to have boom down USA. We're going to boom. And many industries. And we're going to bring manufacturing and we're going to bring product. For instance, we need pharmaceuticals in a company. We don't want to be buying our pharmaceuticals from other countries because if we're in a war, we're in a problem. We want to be able to make our own. We have our own lumber. We have our own energy. We don't need energy from Canada. We don't need lumber from Canada. We don't need anything from Canada. We don't need cars from Canada, as an example. So we are going to, I think we're going to have, I call it the golden age of America. I believe this will be the golden age of America. Thank you very much.
Have you decided on your first foreign trip?
Jesus Christ. What? We got a child drunk at the wheel. Not even Fox News can put a big good spin on this shit.
Way to end the week if you're long the market. If you're long gold, you're happy, but Dow is losing about 724. The S&P down 113. The NASDAQ down 484. That will do it for us.
So they cut to the new show, Kudlow.
Welcome to Kudlow. I'm Larry Kudlow. So markets crash over 700 points today after a bad inflation report, more tariff confusion. Oh, and by the way, Republicans really going to raise taxes? That could have done it. Our own.
So apparently there's, as if somebody's been telling that people at this work, hey, what's up, Kev? Apparently, Donald Trump is now considering implementing a tax increase on the highest earners. And the Republicans are fucking kicking and screaming. But they say that it would give them some breathing room to shore up some of their priorities. Of course. That's what we've got to do. Everybody knows that's what we've got to do.
Sandra Smith, Taylor Riggs, and Jerry Wilsby right here on set to break it all.
So much.
Oh,
folks, this is.
They can't even spin it in a positive light. They try. They can't do it.
Good Sunday morning. President Trump is standing by his national security team as the fallout intensifies after top officials mistakenly shared attack plans for U.S. military strikes in Yemen on the Signal messaging app with a journalist. In an exclusive phone interview on Saturday, the president told me, quote, I don't fire people because of fake news and because of witch hunts. Mr. Trump said he still has confidence in Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. Just hours ago, President Trump called me to tell me he is, quote, pissed off with Russia's President Putin and threatened to impose secondary tariffs on Russia's oil.
I bet he is.
Quote, if Russia and I are unable.
Wait, Russia has full sanctions already, right?
To make a deal on stopping the bloodshed in Ukraine, and if I think it was Russia's.
You can't sustain lumber in the United States unless you chop down national forests. That won't even. Yeah, and what he's talking about, the stuff he's talking about implementing is streamlining it to make like right of way cuts and like thinning cuts and shit. There's no way that's going to keep up with lumber demand, and all that's going to do is put more fucking pressure on the housing market.
Fault, which it might not be, but if I think it was Russia's fault, I am going to put secondary tariffs on all oil coming out of Russia. Mr. Trump said 25% tariffs.
Not to mention when you look at a map of where the trees go that we use for lumber for building houses, where they grow at on the U.S. versus Canada, it's because they fucking grow in Canada, dude. We can't, unless you're going to annex Canada.
On Russian oil could happen any moment and told me he plans to speak with President Putin this week. The president told me, quote, I was very angry, pissed off when Putin started getting into Zelensky's credibility and started talking about new leadership in Ukraine. On Iran, the president said he's also considering secondary tariffs if Iran doesn't agree to a nuclear deal. Quote, if they don't make it.
I wish I'd have saved that map I had.
And it will be bombing the likes of which they have never seen before. After markets tumbled on Friday and with consumer confidence falling, the president also told me he's not backing down on his tariff plans.
What we're going to be doing is a 25% tariff on all cars that are not made in the United States. If they're made in the United States, there's absolutely no tariff.
And the president telling me tariffs are, quote, absolutely permanent. And on fears of foreign automakers raising prices, quote, I couldn't care less if they raise prices because people are going to start buying American-made cars.
Couldn't care less.
And on his vow to annex Greenland, the president saying, quote, I never take military force off the table, but I think there's a good possibility that we could do it without military force. The White House is still on defense this weekend after the Atlantic editor-in-chief Jeffrey Goldberg says he was added to that signal conversation by Mr. Trump's national security advisor Mike Waltz, where details of the plans for an attack on the Houthis in Yemen were shared with him in real time. The chat included the vice president, the defense secretary, the secretary of state, the CIA director, and the director of national intelligence. The explanations for what happened and how serious of a security breach it was have been evolving.
I'm sure everybody out there has had a contact where it was said one person and then a different phone number. But you've never.
You just got sucked in, guys.
I mean, I'm not an expert in any of this, but it's just curious. How's the number on your phone? Well, if you have somebody else's contact and then somehow it gets sucked in, it gets sucked in.
Nobody was texting war plans, and that's all I have to say about that.
Intelligence officials defended the sensitive nature of the content, denying it was classified.
My communications, to be clear, in a signal message group were entirely permissible and lawful and did not include classified information.
There was no classified material that was shared.
Was there any mention of a target in Yemen?
I don't remember mention of specific targets.
Was there any mention, Ms. Gabbard, of a weapon or weapons system?
I don't recall specific weapons systems being named.
How about anything about timing?
I don't recall specific timing.
Any mention of any military unit whatsoever? Mr. Ratcliffe, not that I recall. Ms. Gabbard.
Not that I recall.
After the administration insisted there was no classified information on the text chain, Goldberg released the messages that included Defense Secretary Hegseth sharing specific details about when bombs would drop and when U.S. jets would take off just 30 minutes before they launched the attack. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz texted that a key target of the attack had been seen walking into his girlfriend's building that had collapsed. President Trump is privately angry with Waltz, two Republican sources tell NBC News. The Senate Armed Services Committee has requested a formal investigation from the Pentagon's Inspector General, but the FBI and the DOJ seem unlikely to investigate the matter, even as pressure mounts for more accountability.
There was a crime here, and there should be accountability.
This White House lies. It's hypocritical. It's corrupt. So no, I don't trust the Fox to investigate the hen house.
I'm also puzzled by some of the answers that were given by the DNI at the intelligence hearing.
I think everybody has acknowledged, including the White House, that mistakes were made, and what we want to do is make sure that something like that doesn't happen again.
And voter anger is growing over the issue, on display at this town hall in Indiana.
Again, everybody at fucking Ted Cruz made a tweet that was like, I know because I saw with my own eyes, all the people that are showing up at these town halls are paid agitators.
Immediate resignation of Pete Hegseth. No, I would not demand that resignation.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories.
They're all paid agitators. Just wait. All of them. Saying that the Democratic Party is done. It'll never see the light of day again. It's finished. It's over with. And these motherfuckers are scared to go to their own town halls. Are literally canceling their own town halls. I want to see this. This is Edison, the company I was talking about earlier. Apparently they put out a new video. Next Gen Truck Cab unveiled. They're actually manufacturing their own thing. Again, these people are not full electric. They use a generator that's running at its perfect RPM range at all times to charge batteries to do the work.
Guys, we're today here at Wacon in Penticton, BC, here to see the undisclosed cab that we revealed a few weeks ago. So come check this out.
I really believe in Edison. I think they're going to change a lot of stuff. They're a small company, but they're a Canadian company, but they seem like they're doing really good. Yeah, the Serbian Congress lady.
As Eric mentioned, we're here at Wacon. My name's Peter. Ever since I started back in May, this has been my main project, working on this cab. Obviously sitting in it today, pretty exciting. Just came out of primer recently, and we're sort of finishing up the interior panels and getting everything all buttoned up. But I thought I'd give you guys a little tour of what's going on in here. Sitting in the center, obviously, so to my right side, we're gonna have a passenger seat over here. To my left side, we're gonna have a side console that's gonna have some storage, some cup holders, obviously very important part of a truck, and some HVAC. That HVAC is then gonna run into our electronics cabinet behind me. This electronics cabinet is gonna have some huge glass panels, so you can see all the inner workings of our hybrid electric system, which is gonna be super.
Is it a more centered driver's seat? Is that what's going on?
It also keeps it securely, safely away from the driver. There's going to be sensors that let us know when the door's been opened and shut down the entire electrical system to make sure anyone working on the vehicle is safe and not.
I do like Edison Motors. I think they're taking like seed money and capital and shit right now.
Coming from that electronics cabinet, we have this roof with open space up top. That allows us to run wires, HVAC, all the way to these front consoles. In these roof consoles, we're going to have our screens up here for controls and vital information from the hybrid system. Then we're going to have our radio, CB radio, a little bit more storage up there, but yeah, super nice, super easy to see, able to grab it from the driver's seat. Then coming down to your center console. Obviously,
it's literally just some guy who took his old logging truck and is like, this makes sense, right? A lot of the emissions come from diesel motors when they're not running at the right RPM, right? You're too high gear, too low a gear. That's why the transmissions have so many gears. But if you can run a generator like a train does, CSX used to have this commercial where they could move like 1 ton of material 1 mile, or 1 ton of material so far for like 1 gallon of diesel. It was like insane because they're just running generators.
So you're going to have our steering wheel, steering columns right there. We're going to have all our control buttons right here, nice and easy to access for the driver, air brake controls and whatnot. And then obviously one of the unique features of this truck is the dozer style doors over here. So the doors are actually not on the side of the vehicle, but the front. So they push out frontwards like a dozer does it. That gives us really actually easy access to get into the cab from the front. You're not fighting against the seats and stuff to get in. So it's a pretty unique truck, but we're really excited to see it come together here in the next few weeks, and can't wait to show you guys the finished product.
This is what we got right now. She's sitting here in primer, and yeah, honestly, I'm pretty impressed with it. This customer was really pushing the center seating, the forward visibility.
That's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool concept drawing.
They wanted a cab over because they have so much stuff behind the truck that they needed to move that cab forward and able to operate their body equipment. But we've got great visibility out the front. Yeah, we figured that now we're in the stage where we've got it all framed in. We're starting to put the side pieces on, and it's starting to look more like a cab. So we thought this is the perfect day to give it a little inspection. It's nice being able to see it from 3D files to something that's really here that you can touch and knock on. Honestly, it feels good.
My name is Tara O'Connell. I work for Wacom Manufacturing, and I'm a partner in the business. We do a variety of stuff, typically industrial manufacturing, but we have a lot of solutions that
bought a Rivian truck.
Within that.
They're pretty cool.
Designed for manufacturing.
I know that Jerry Rig Everything, he's like a YouTuber that's a secret Mormon. He had one of like the very first models, and he's had issues with it because it was like one of the very first ones off the assembly line, but he loves it.
It is a big piece of what we do. We also do contract manufacturing, where we work very closely with our clients. They have a product and we'll take care of the build. We also do prototype work, where we offer a lot of like the engineering support, as well as we plug and play that into our facility. I suppose the main essence is we work with steel and we turn it into a really cool product. We do everything in-house here, so we're a complete one-stop shop. And I think that's one of the reasons why our customers like working with us, because we really do take care of everything from start to finish. We do it all.
You guys know we're trying to get as many things made here in North America as we possibly can. That's including the cab. So Kevin here from Wacom was instrumental in helping design, engineer, and build this cab.
Yeah, it's been great working with you guys at Edison. They're super receptive, forward thinking. They got lots of great ideas. So it's been a good experience so far. And hopefully we can deliver a great product to them.
It's looking pretty good so far. Kevin here has been making sure that we can implement the changes the customer wants. So I guess we'll find out here in about a half hour what they actually think once they see it in real time.
Sounds good.
It's always a little different, eh? Once you go from like a 3D model to seeing it in person.
It looks a bit different in the shop than it does in the computer, that's for sure. Basically, Peter sent me his CAD model, which was the outside profile, shape, shell, a lot of the interior features. And then I did some redesign on how we wanted to do the sheet metal forming and how we want some of the edges and the corners to come together just for fabrication and welding purposes. And then we had
this is pretty cool.
Details and challenges as they came up. Just showing CAD back and forth.
Flipping people off.
For Edison in terms of integrating all the components, challenging. Definitely going to have corners come together properly.
All right, so we met with our customer here. They came and had a look. We sat in the cab. This is one of the important things, though, about building locally and doing this, is that we can come to the stage where it's just a skin. We can have a look. One of the things when we sat in there, we were worried about that visibility out of this. One of the issues we had about putting the increased visibility in here is that there's a window regulator and a piece that comes in here. So we can't have this a big window because of all that hardware. So then we were thinking, well, what if we made this the window, brought this back, and then window slid back? That would get rid of the need to have that window regulator. So they had one that was out here. This is a different one. Obviously, ours would be custom, but it gives you an idea. That window essentially just slides back like that. Slides forward.
And you don't need a regulator and shit. Yeah.
It's going to be weird. I've driven Topsy a bit now. It is definitely weird to go from a traditional truck cab to where you're sitting in the middle. Anything we can do to make the operator a lot more comfortable.
Let's check out. We haven't seen it in a minute. He's talking about Edison Motors. Topsy is one of the first trucks they converted. Their prototype truck. It's pretty cool.
Welcome to Edison Motors. I want to show you our electric truck, show you how it works, show you how it runs, and really what makes an Edison truck an Edison truck. So to introduce us, this is our first production prototype. We named it Topsy after the elephant Thomas Edison electrocuted, but this is the Edison truck. Start with, we got a heavy toe pin that is reinforced directly to the frame rails. It's hard to show, but these frame
That's a good looking truck.
Here run all the way out. There's no drop leaf. There's nothing that comes down as an extra piece. You have full frame rails the whole way so that when you're road, you got to have a heavy duty grill guard. We copied what kind of Kenworth used to do on the old LW series where she's just a bolted on solid chunk of steel. Headlights. They're not integrated. They're just standalone. They come on their own mount. You can bolt your own style on, whatever you want, change it. But more importantly is that these headlights are cheaper. $100 for a lens. You can buy it on Amazon if you want. It's not a molded piece. It's formed into a fender. You hit it with a stick, hit it with something, just go out, get another one from the local parts store, throw it on there. Done. On this hood, you'll notice we have a butterfly hood. The reason why we have a butterfly hood is that it's cool. The inside panel just removes. This is everybody's signature that worked on the truck that was there at the last day of the show. There's probably needs to be a lot more signatures on it. But
I hope this guy, I really like this guy. I really like this company. Man, if this guy turned out to be a scammer, it would break me. I really like this guy.
You're carrying around your onboard level 3 fast charger. Of course, in there, things are easy. I love the butterfly hood because you've got a little workbench. You're sitting here, you got a little workbench to sit on, wrench on the truck. You can lay your tools down there. It's one of the reasons why I like a butterfly. Some mechanics hate it. Personally, I think it's nice to have a little seat as you're working. So in this truck, we do have a diesel generator, but the nice thing about our driveline system is that it does not have to be a diesel. You could put a natural gas generator, a propane, a gasoline. You could put a hydrogen fuel cell, or you could just stack more batteries under the hood if you want full EV. Our inverters do not care where the power comes from. This is a totally fuel agnostic truck. We just went with diesel generators because diesel is what we know. It's a proven variable, and it allows us to test everything else without getting too fancy under the hood. Here we got the Edison cab, so we went with kind of a dozer style cab. It looks more like a skidder or a loader because it's meant to work off.
We were just talking about that, flipping that district that is 47, 45 years, something like that.
It's meant to be a heavy vocational truck, so we really copied that bulldozer skidder design, and once you sit in it and drive it, fantastic. Also, we're the only electric truck with a drop visor because you need to have a good visor on a truck. Stop making electric trucks without visors. Bring the visors back. Okay, one of the things too is with our mirror style we went with is that number one, you have no mirror brackets obstructing your view from the driver's seat. All you see is a mirror dropping down. The other thing, if you got to work on your hood, you want to check anything out, you can just walk freely past here. There's no arms to get in the way. You want to clean your glass, you're working in mucky conditions, hop out, clean the glass. Things about this truck, slidey windows, like a piece of heavy equipment. I like the window slides. Although in the future one, I'm probably just going to make the window crank down. It's probably better. But like, I just thought that was neat for it's a prototype. One thing I do want to show off here is this door hinge. Just a nice mechanical linkage, no cable, easy to work on, easy to service. Let me show you some things in the cab that I think are really cool. Under here, the air lines come up here where they are super easy to service and work on. Like, you need access to them, they're right there, they're not tucked in behind a firewall. Old school trailer jerry bar. You know how much this is? Like $80-100. It's metal, it's made to last. Another detail on this truck. Everything we use here is steel braided airlines everywhere. This stuff doesn't wear, it lasts forever. It's just going, it's not gonna have O-rings leaking. The mid 2010s, simple switches, easy to get, easy to, I just have view out of there at the visibility.
I like it. The fact that some guy that just owns a logging company started building this shit is crazy to me. And now they're getting like deals from like legit companies to purchase trucks.
Probably doesn't need to be. Someone comes, just reach down, hit that. I like door closes. As a trucker, that makes a big difference to me. 2 fingers, door closes, smooth, solid. That's how a door should close. Okay, one of the cool things about our truck is that this thing that looks like a headache rack is actually not a headache rack. Electric trucks need what you call a power distribution unit. We put ours in the headache rack, turned what looked like a headache rack so that it looks clean. It looks like it should be a truck. Because I'm tired of ugly looking EVs. It should just look like a thing. Now in an actual truck, if you needed to use it for a headache rack, we could relocate it into those side boxes in there, the power inverters, but for now, I want to be able to show it off because this is kind of what's cool. This side here is all of your contactors, your fuses, the safety equipment. This is what makes sure that the electric thing is safe. If there's an issue, it blows out fuses, shuts itself down. This is the ground fault monitoring, all in this box. The middle cabinet here is all of your power inverters. These are what take the power from that generator and put it into the batteries that are under our feet right now. These are the inverters that take the power from the batteries and put it in the electric motor. Basically, you have AC power coming off the generator. Put chains in and boxes on each side. And what we also have here is a plug-in. So you can pull up to a charger, plug your truck in, you're done at the end of the day, plug it in, done. Under here, you notice these are where we put our batteries. These are what make this hybrid system so efficient. So people ask, you still have a generator under there, what's the point of doing the batteries? It's because these are 4C rated batteries. So what 4C battery means is that it can discharge 4 times its capacity. So we have 280 kilowatt hours of batteries, so we can actually pump out 1200 kilowatts, 1500 horsepower. Of course, we're only using about 700, 800 horsepower on the back, but these act for your peak load demand. So when you're accelerating off the line, you can run a 350 horsepower diesel. It just maintains that average load on the batteries. When you need to accelerate, they discharge at that 4C, give you a ton of power, and when you're coming downhill, or you're coming down, you're slowing down to a stop sign, you take the power, put it back into the batteries.
I really like Edison. I hope it works out.
All right, let's be honest. Topsy is kind of ugly. Kind of in the way an old Pacific P16 is. Like, these trucks are built for work. They're not winning any beauty contest. Our truck's the same way. Steel grille, butterfly hood, solid steel fenders. an absolutely utilitarian cab. So I've been listening to your design changes on how we can make it a little bit less utilitarian and a little bit better looking. Here's what you guys have come up with. A lot of people wanted a slope nose. So we've lowered the height of the bumper. We've lowered the height of the windshield by 6 inches. It really doesn't need to be that tall. This is the high hood model, but we've added a little 48-inch sleeper and some exhaust pipes. We've mounted the mirror on the fenders, because I really wasn't happy with the house mover style. And that's how the old Pacifics used to run them off the fender, as well as on the Kenworth C500. I want to try it, see how it does. This side piece here was also pretty far back. So you can see we brought that forward a lot more. So yeah, I think we're on the right track here. We're making some good progress, but let me know in the comments what we can do to improve this even more.
Anyways, he's kind of...
Topsy is kind of...
He's kind of, I wouldn't say crowd-funded, but yeah, he takes suggestions and feedback from everybody. He does a good job. That's Edison Motors. You guys check them out on, I think we did like a show where we talked about it pretty in depth.
Why should we be buying lumber from other countries?
Because that's where the trees are.
Oh, there it is. Northern and Western coniferous. So you have hardwood, central hardwoods. You have southeastern pine, which is this yellow down here, right? You have mixed forest. And then the northern and western coniferous is all of this.
These different colors are different kind of trees, and what you need to know is that this is the kind of trees that we like to build houses out of. We can also use these ones, but they're not as good. And as you can see, Canada's just trees galore. So I guess we could cut down our national forest to make 2x4s, but unfortunately we would actually run out pretty quick, and we'd have to wait another decade for those trees to grow again so we can harvest them again. And another interesting thing about trees is that the farther north they grow, the slower they grow. And the slower they grow, the harder the wood is, which makes it better. The wood is also better the longer you let the trees grow before you cut them, and these are all uncut forests. When it comes down to it, Canada's wood is just longer, harder, thicker, and uncut. And they're eager to let us have it. We should just let their wood come all over America. Because in reality, we just don't have enough forests in the United States to keep up with the demand for construction. In fact, this is a post that I made in 2017. Remember back in April when Trump got mad about Canadian lumber replacing American lumber? Well, it turns out that a 30% duty on Canadian goods doesn't mean that America produces more lumber. The lumber we used to get from Canada, we are now getting from Europe and Asia, and it costs a lot more. Notably, lumber imports from Russia have increased by over 40%. This lumber comes from forced labor camps in Siberia, where
we're paying more for it.
Workers from the North Korean government. So let's break this down. We hurt our relationship with Canada so that we can support the oppression of North Koreans for the benefit of Russia and North Korea's governments, all so that Americans can pay more for soft lumber, and it will cost Americans wanting to build a house 20% more than it would have cost last year. How does that put America first? You know how we have a housing shortage and
it never does.
Costs have gotten outrageous since 2017. The houses being built now are not as sturdy as houses that were being built 10 years ago, and they cost more. Asking why we get lumber from Canada is like asking why we get coffee from Ethiopia or why we get pineapples from South America. That's
where it grows.
Just where they come from.
It's where they have a lot more of it than we do.
We have some news right now. Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, brought his wife into sensitive meetings with
and his brother.
Officials, and alarm bells are going off in the intelligence community right now. According to the Wall Street Journal, Pete Hegseth brought Jennifer Hegseth, his wife, to 2 meetings with foreign military officials. One meeting was held with the United Kingdom's Secretary of Defense in the Pentagon and discussed whether or not the United States should withdraw military intelligence from Ukraine amid Russia's invasion. The second meeting was at NATO headquarters in Belgium, and according to the Wall Street Journal, the purpose of the meeting was to gather officials to discuss support for Ukraine. Now, here's the problem. These meetings are specifically reserved for highly sensitive conversations. And the people that come here only have security clearances. Jennifer Hegseth does not have one. And according to the Wall Street Journal, at the meetings, some foreign attendees didn't even know who she was. It's raising concerns, especially after Pete Hegseth sent highly classified war plans in a Signal group chat. I'll do a full breakdown on my Substack shortly, so be sure to subscribe for free at the link in my bio and follow him for all the news you need to know about.
I wouldn't doubt that he's paying his fucking wife a salary so he can drag her around. He's already paying his brother off, right? His brother somehow becomes the lead liaison from Homeland Security to DOD. The fuck out of here.
The king has spoken yet again. The king has spoken yet again. Automakers are not to raise their prices in response to the tariffs.
How the fuck What?
Yeah, I mean, as a lifelong Republican, as I was, I mean, this seems like government. Does this seem like government overreach to you, huh? We're going to raise the prices for you, the automakers, but you cannot raise the prices. You got to absorb that cost because then it'll make us look bad. And of course, the threats. Trump told the executives that the White House would look unfavorably on such a move, leaving some of them rattled and worried that they would face punishment. Private companies. If they increase prices. Yeah. Instead, they should feel.
So if he raises the prices on them and they pass the price on you, like they will, they're going to be in trouble with the president.
Grateful. They should feel grateful what the king has done for them. So Donald Trump announced a 25% tariffs on all imported vehicles and parts starting April 2nd. As we warned you, this will certainly force American car makers to raise the prices on you. Because most automakers depend on parts and materials from other countries to make cars, including those assembled in the US of A. But Donald Trump has promised you that you're going to see the prices go down. They're going to go down. As if we can just build manufacturing plants in a matter of days or months. Yeah, it takes years and lots of money. So for now, dealers have stockpiled a 2 to 3 month supply, meaning the impacts of the tariffs may not start to be felt until May. And at that point, vehicle prices could rise. Yeah. And this impacts mom and pop shops across the industry as well. Oh, not to mention,
of course,
cars fully made here in the United States are going to be more expensive anyway. Okay. And by the way, a lot of those manufacturing plants are now automated, so I'm not sure how many jobs that's going to bring back. Yeah. With a declining workforce.
I'm raising the prices on you, but you cannot raise the prices on the customer because it would make the White House look bad. That's what's being said.
Automakers, you better not raise. Is he doing it at the grocery stores, huh? Isn't that where you guys are really feeling it? Why isn't he telling grocery stores that they need to cut their prices for you? And since when does the government get to mandate this? The king has spoken yet again. Automakers are not to raise their prices in response to the.
Jesus Christ! He's a fucking retard.
So let me see if I got this right. Y'all want to deport tens of millions of undocumented immigrants and legal permanent residents out of the country. And then you also want to lay off 1 million federal workers and expect those people with bachelor's degrees and master's degrees and PhDs to go work in the fields and fill the jobs that are left vacant because you kicked out all the immigrants. Am I right so far? I also want to do stuff like defund already underfunded public schools where they have to shut down or consolidate, and then children don't have anywhere to go, and then you want to loosen child labor laws so that they can go work in the factories with those jobs that are now left vacant because you kicked out all the immigrants. You want their teachers that have bachelor's degrees and master's degrees and PhDs to also go work in the factories with their students right alongside them. Then once Donald Trump and Doge have successfully shut down.
Yes, we'll do science lessons during lunch breaks.
Entire federal government and privatize the whole thing. Elon Musk and all of his tech bros and military contractor buddies can go and scoop up all of the guys that are overqualified and highly skilled that don't want to work in the fields and factories so that they can go work for them. It's really no wonder why y'all aren't concerned about the economy and what firing 1 million federal workers and kicking out tens of millions of immigrants that put into the economy would do to us. Y'all, of course, aren't concerned about that because you're expecting some kind of MAGA Republican fantasy to happen where you force everyone that's highly skilled and highly educated out of their current positions and into these fields and factories you have to have bodies in because you kicked all the bodies that were willing to work those jobs out of the country. You're so desperate to put bodies in fields and factories that you want to put kids in those fields and factories. Highly skilled, highly educated professionals with master's degrees and PhDs are not useful or helpful to the oligarchy, to the new American dictatorship. They're not an asset, they're a liability. Educated children are not an asset, they're a liability. Federal jobs are a waste of money and federal workers are a drain on the system. They don't need tens of millions of hardworking immigrants in this country because they're expecting everyone else to go pick up the slack. They're expecting all the unwilling participants of this ridiculous idiocracy of an experiment to go along with it and pick up the slack. So let me see if I got this right. Y'all want to deport tens of millions of undocumented immigrants and legal permanent residents.
Look at this shit right here.
Do you think that...
I got one for you. As if Charlie Kirk couldn't get fucking dumber. Again, I told you, never, ever, 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 ever fucking trust someone who is against free food for kids. There's no argument to be made. Their parents should have fed them. Who cares? Well, their parents can probably afford this. Don't care. They can get a job. Nope. Never, ever, ever trust someone who is against free food for children in school.
Do you think that there should be free school lunch for all children?
No.
Why?
Of course not. Because parents should feed their kids, not the government.
What if they can't?
Let's go get a job.
A child? You want child?
The parents should go get the job. Yeah. This is important. I don't believe
they have jobs
And the fact that a bunch of college kids are cheering him on is fucking ridiculous.
They can't support their children there because the minimum wage is so low.
No, you are a dumb dude. Don't give me this stuff. First of all, this is really.
I want children to eat.
Of course I do. Show me a single child in America going hungry. Doesn't exist. Number two.
14 million. 14 million. 1 in every 5 kids in the United States is unsure when or where or how they're going to get their next fucking meal. 14 million kids. Families with children are much more likely to not be able to feed the entire family. Black and Latino children are twice as likely to face hunger. And single families or single parent families are far more likely. 1 in 3 households by single moms and 1 in 4 households by single dads experience food insecurity. 14 million fucking kids.
First of all, this is really.
I want children to eat.
Of course I do. Show me a single child in America going hungry. Doesn't exist. Number two, we have churches, we have food shelters, we have billions, and it does not exist. We have a child obesity problem, not a child starvation problem in this country. That 50% of our kids are obese or overweight. There's not a single kid in America that has died of starvation in the last 10 years.
Bullshit. In 2018, over 9,000 kids died from malnutrition-related illnesses or malnutrition-related deaths. In 2022, it increased to 20,500. It went down in 2023, but in 2025, this year, it's expected to exceed 30,000 deaths. 30,000 malnutrition-related deaths in the U.S. The richest country in the world.
And here, show me that kid. Show me. They're not. This is a propaganda thing from the Democrat Party. Our kids are so overweight they have type 2 diabetes by the age of 8. So the number one problem for kids right now is that they're not moving enough and they're eating too much. Not that there's child starvation. Instead,
There can be fat kids, and that can be an issue. And there can be starving kids at the same time, you fucking idiot.
Get back to a time where we say, hey, parents feed your kids, churches feed your kids, communities feed your kids, not big daddy government coming in.
Churches do it. Communities do it. Right? The government can't do it.
And doing what the families do. With that, I say thank you guys so much and have a
He ran away.
great day. Thank you.
Childhood poverty was cut in half, I think. It might have just been in like Black and Latino communities, but childhood poverty cut in half by the tax credits. It cuts Black childhood poverty in half. At least that's what the data shows. It fell from 17. Black childhood poverty fell from 17.2. All of the childhood poverty did well with the tax credits, but especially Black families. And Black childhood poverty fell from 17.2 in 2020 to 8.3 in 2021. A 52% drop. In 1 year. That's crazy. No more. No more. Let the churches feed them. Let communities feed them. If they don't have a church, they don't have a good community, fuck them. They'll starve. Never, ever, ever, ever trust someone who is against feeding children, dude. Feeding children. Feed them all. We're the richest fucking country on earth. Feed everybody under 18.
I guess Tom Hanks didn't have enough hate from that flop of Forrest Gump.
The flop he won an Oscar for?
Forrest Gump is like...
On the left are just losing.
Forrest Gump is like world-renowned movie, right? They even made a Bollywood version of it.
Hanks didn't have enough hate from that flop of Forrest Gump.
The flop he won an Oscar for?
That he had to go on Saturday Night Live and impersonate a Trump supporter, and in doing so, he pretty much pissed off every American.
He didn't impersonate a Trump supporter. He played a Trump supporter. He's an actor. Are you mad that he played a Trump supporter, or are you mad that he played a very specific Trump supporter? You know, I feel like maybe it just hit a little too close to home.
I don't believe in evolution, but if we were evolved from one thing and now we are this, why throughout the lifetime of humans, why have we not evolved from not needing sunglasses?
Sometimes the truth hurts. You know,
So he played you.
Darwin, because this man has just unraveled the lies.
I guess Tom Hanks.
Jesus fucking Christ, dude. The flop of
It was never done.
Forrest Gump.
A car in the United States that's made in the United States, if it's manufactured here, when you borrow money, if you borrow money, you have interest payments. We're going to let you deduct the interest payment for income tax reasons. And I think that's going to more than pay for itself. I think people are going to be, they've never had a deduction. You know, deductions are supposed to be for like rich people, and it's unfair to have.
Everybody has access to deductions. If you want to go through and itemize deductions, you're more than welcome. The vast majority of people don't meet the standard deduction. So you would be losing money if you went through and did all the deductions. That's for rich people. They don't get deductions.
I think that's going to more than pay for itself. I think people are going to be, they've never had a deduction. You know, deductions are supposed to be for like rich people, and it's unfair to have that. But rich people are, I think I know more about deductions than any human being on earth. It was never done. If you buy a car in the United States that's made in the United States, if it's manufactured here, when you borrow money, if you borrow money, you have interest payments. We're going to let you.
So Mississippi just decided to.
People on the right don't understand, while the rest of the world or the rest of the U.S. does not like Mississippi eliminating income tax. Can someone from the class tell me why Mississippi shouldn't do away with their income tax? It's because Mississippi is already poor as fuck and heavily subsidized by the federal government through taxes from other states. So when they just announce, we're doing away with income tax, either their government's going to shut down or they're going to need more money from the blue states. 80% of the blue states paying more. The one exception is basically Texas, right? Because there's a lot that goes on in Texas. It's huge. 80% of blue states paying more than they ever receive from the federal government. So now Mississippi, yeah, it's a benefit to you if you live in Mississippi, I guess, but everybody else is going to have to foot the fucking bill.
So Mississippi just decided to rid itself of its income tax. And Mississippi MAGA is taking a victory lap, but that should probably be reconsidered. See, taxes are like the state's income. And if you remove the state's income, it still has bills to pay, which means that it's still going to be made up in some way, because in some way Mississippi will have to come up with the funds to pay its bills. Income taxes are progressive, which means that the more that you make, the more money you pay into the system. In lieu of
it should be.
Income tax, what's going to wind up happening is that it's going to be made up in other taxes, sales tax, property taxes. You may look at other states like Florida that doesn't have an income tax and think that looks pretty great, and it does. But Florida has a huge.
By the way, Tennessee doesn't have an income tax. We have a gigantic sales tax, right? We have other expensive like excise and use taxes.
Tourist industry. That means lots of people coming in, using all of their toll roads, providing them with a steady stream of income. It also has pretty high property taxes. So all of these taxes, which have to be paid, and they're paid based on the amount of money you have spent on your property or the things that you purchase, which is a regressive tax. What that means is that
they're already heavily subsidized already, and they're like fucking 39th in education. So this is going to be great.
whether you're a millionaire or you're below the poverty line, you're paying the exact same tax for the things that you purchase. I'm sorry, guys, but this isn't the win that you think it is. Godspeed.
It never is.
So Mississippi.
It never is. They can't engage.
It's never done. If you buy a car in the United
Y'all on the left are just losing your damn minds over this one. You're seriously just nonstop running your mouths because the Department of Education is being put at a state level.
Running your mouths. Running your mouths. Running your mouths.
Uh-oh.
Mouths. Running your mouths. No, you're right, dude. We should get rid of the Department of Education. Running your mouths. Definitely. I think that's a good idea. Running your mouths.
Y'all on the left are just losing your damn minds over this one. You're seriously mad
Got
at
him.
nonstop running your.
Free speech is not about whatever it is that y'all want somebody to say. And the idea that you want to shut down everybody that is not Fox News is we need to stop playing.
Uh-oh.
That's what y'all are doing.
Uh-oh.
You don't want to hear the opinions of anybody else. And the Constitution says Congress shall make no law respecting or establishing of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the
gentlewoman's time has expired.
Press. Free speech is not about whatever it is that y'all.
Uh-oh, she said bullshit.
And the idea that you want to shut down everybody that is.
God damn, dude. Does it ever get any better? Are we ever going to get out of this endless cycle of everything is always worse? Where is the... Hold on just a second. I'm looking for a video. This is one of them. It wasn't the one I was looking for.
Welcome back to the American National Mental Gym.
This one's funny as shit. Oh, I see it.
Honey,
Welcome back to the American National Mental Gymnastics Championships. Up next, we have Ryland Parker from Jacksonville, Florida, a two-time medalist in this event and last year's gold medal winner. So there is nothing that is more important to me than the sanctity of life. However,
Yeah, sales tax is 10% in Tennessee.
when young children are killed at school with an AR-15, I argue that we should have less strict gun laws to own the libs. And that does not make me a hypocrite, no sir.
Makes sense.
Makes me a protector who cares about being able to defend himself and his family against a tyrannical government. However, when the government is at its most tyrannical, that's when I'm simping the hardest for the government. And that does not make me a hypocrite. It makes me a patriot. Blue Lives Matter. Astonishing. The effortless cognitive dissonance, the complete lack of self-awareness, that's going to be really tough to beat. And the judges absolutely love it.
That's pretty good.
Remember,
Yeah, I'll
these
say
are the top
mental gymnastics
in the world. These people have worked tirelessly to fortify their brains against ever experiencing intellectual consistency or approaching a rational conclusion about anything. And now we'll hear from Coach Smith from Idaho Falls.
We have a competitor's entered.
Genders, male and female. That's just science. Also, science is the devil. You're not going to tell me I used to be a monkey and that my Ford F-350 is contributing to the inevitable heat death of the planet. I believe in a God who does not make mistakes. And I don't believe that my God would make the Ford F-350 so cool if I was not supposed to drive it as loudly and as recklessly as possible every single day. But I do believe that God would make people who think that they're trans and gay even though they're not, because free will. Wow.
Ooh.
So I'm allowed to take testosterone because I was born with a wiener. Impressive. I didn't think he'd be able to stick the landing, but there it is. Free will, the ultimate thought-terminating Christian
I still live in my hometown. Don't remind me.
cliche. Folks, if it looks like what these athletes are doing is easy, that's because it is. Mental gymnastics is one of the laziest competitive events in existence. These truly are the dumbest of the dumb, the worst of the worst. And finally, we have
This guy is your pal Austin, and he's very funny.
Appleton from
It's recently fired by Doge.
in South Carolina. I'm not really left or right. I'm not really a political guy. Okay, I think there are good people and bad people on both sides. I just so happen to agree with everything that Donald Trump says and exclusively regurgitate conservative talking points whenever I engage in political.
Everybody that says they're in the middle is just a fucking right-wing shill. Oh, I'm in the middle. Tim Pool is a prime example.
Discourse, but I'm a free thinker. I come to my own conclusions. I do my own research. I don't just do whatever the mainstream media tells me to do. I just so happen to do whatever Fox News and the Daily Wire tell me to do. And here comes the most difficult part of his routine, the dismount. But does that mean that I'm a conservative? Does that mean that I'm brainwashed? No. What that means is I'm an alpha. Wow.
Oh.
So stupid.
Got him.
Genuinely. Just so stupid. Welcome back to the
One of them said, I hate this. I hate this.
What about the groceries? Has the groceries went down yet? I don't give a fuck about the groceries.
Oh, baby girl, we know that. We know that. We know you don't give a fuck about groceries. The reason why we keep bringing groceries up is because that's what you said when we asked you, how are you going to vote for this man again? How are you going to vote for this man who is a 34-time convicted felon, who has been held liable for sexual assault in court? This man whose first presidential term was a colossal disaster in every conceivable way. How are you going to vote for him again? And what you said is, I know all of those things are true about him, but
I saw a guy today that claims that he didn't get into politics because he didn't want the arguments on his platform, which is always MAGA people, right? Always MAGA people are like, I don't want to get into it because I don't want to do this, right? Well, he made a video. He's all about not politics, not bringing politics on here. He bought a Tesla and the title of the video was, I bought a Tesla today to save our country.
I gotta get my hands on some of them cheap groceries. I gotta get cheaper eggs. I gotta get cheaper slices of cheese. That's what you said. And we knew you were full of shit when you said that. We knew you were lying. And the reason why we keep bringing it up is to rub your face in that lie. So when you say you don't give a fuck about the groceries, we know that. We know your vote was never actually about...
These dumb motherfuckers have now convinced that they're doing private security unpaid for Elon Musk and going and buying the cars that they made fun of for years when people were worried about climate change. From the richest man in the fucking world. The richest man in the fucking world are convinced that that's what they need to do now. You know how many repo Teslas there's going to be a couple years from now?
Groceries. It was always about the fact that he is bigoted against the same people you are bigoted against. I mean, look at your hairstyle. It's 2025 and you're walking around with a whole ass minstrel show on your head, probably saying stuff like Rastaman and Peace Be the Journey. And I bet if you did a 23andMe, you'd be like 60% German, 40% Irish Catholic, and 100% as white as the unpasteurized milk that you no doubt drink for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single goddamn day. But you got what to say, so don't let me cut you off. Let's keep going.
And you guys sure didn't give a fuck about the groceries the last 4 years, or the gas prices, or the fact that we were sending millions to other countries. Shit, my bad, trillions. The millions went to the immigrants that crossed the border illegally.
Yeah, racism. You see, there it is. You just don't like brown brown people. It's all right.
And our vets stayed on the streets.
Oh, conservatives are trying to help out homeless people and vets? That's what you think? You voted for Donald Trump because you think the Trump administration is going to show up for the unhoused and the veteran population? This talking point is every bit as disingenuous as you saying it was about groceries. Like, you don't care about unhoused people. You don't care about vets. You're just racist. You're just a bigot.
They would probably have more support if they literally came out and said, hey, we have to take some money away from the illegal immigration problem, but it's going directly to homeless veterans. But instead, it's just a talking point. Then when anything comes up about homeless veterans, it's pull yourself up by your bootstraps on the two legs that you don't have anymore.
Keep it simple. Keep it honest.
And now all you have is the groceries. Everybody and their moms knows you can't fix the economy in one day.
Everybody and their moms knows that. Everybody and their moms knows that you can't fix the economy in one day. You might want to tell that to the guy you voted for, because while he was campaigning, he said this.
So when I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
So if everybody knows that, then why did he say he was going to immediately fix grocery prices on day one? By the way, that's a campaign promise that he walked back like a week after he won the election. He didn't even wait to the inauguration to be like, actually, I can't fix grocery prices. Just immediately after you guys voted for him, he was like, yeah, I was lying about that.
Just goes to show how little you guys have on him. Find one thing that you don't like and you just run with it forever.
I say this to conservative people all the time. The fact that you cannot accurately represent the foundation of your opposition's position, the fact that you have to frame everything in bad faith to advocate for your own position, the fact that you have to say, like, you guys only have one thing. You find one thing you don't like about it, and that's all you've got. You've only got this one thing. And I know you know that's not true. Everybody knows you know that's not true. Just like we knew you were lying when you said you were voting for him because of groceries, we know you're lying right now. I know that you know we've got way more than just one grievance with Donald Trump. I know that you know we've got a list 100 miles long of grievances. How far back do I need to go? Do I need to go back to him putting an ad in the New York Times saying we should execute a bunch of black teenagers for a crime they wound up being completely innocent of? Do I need to go back when he told his real estate companies not to rent to black people? Or should we just start at the beginning of Trump's political career? You know, when he was openly mocking disabled reporters, when he said that he could kill someone on Avenue, and you people are so gullible, you would vote for him anyway. When audio was leaked of him saying that when you're a big famous guy, you can do whatever you want to women. You can grab them by the vagina, and that's totally cool because you're rich and famous. When he called Africa a continent full of shithole countries. When he openly said on the debate stage against Hillary Clinton that if he ever lost an election, he would just claim the election was rigged and he would just never accept defeat no matter what. And then when he lost in 2020, he did just that. And you guys still were like, yeah, I think he's telling the truth. I think this is legitimate. Even though he said that this is the lie he would tell if he ever lost, I think that this is real. His disastrous
Seems like you're kind of grasping at a billion straws here.
handling of the COVID-19 pandemic, his disastrous tax policies that only favor the extremely wealthy and totally screw over the lower classes, i.e. you. How many things do I need to list? How many things do you need to hear before you'll be willing to admit that we got more than one?
If somebody does one bad thing and a million good things, you don't care. You just focus on the one.
You got that flipped, baby girl. It's flipped. He's done a million bad things and zero good things. There are no good things that Donald Trump has ever done. Miserable, pathetic little life. Have a great day and cut your fucking hair.
It looks like he responded to her again. Hold on.
Hello.
The next day.
This is a white person in my audience.
I don't know. Don't means IDK. Don't means in that context. I'm a democratic socialist and I love everyone. Am I not supposed to have dreads? Honest question.
Who has dreadlocks, who seems to be asking sincerely why he should not have dreadlocks. Now, I do believe that there are a lot of people who are far more qualified to speak on this than I am, but I do not want any of those people to have to do this labor for him, especially not during Black History Month, so I'm going to try to break it down as best I can. The reason why I told the white woman with dreads in the video that you're commenting on that she has a whole ass minstrel show on her head is because she kind of does. White people's hair does not naturally form into dreads anywhere near as easily as black people's natural hair does. You can see...
Oh, maybe he didn't respond to her. He just talked about it again.
Which means it takes a lot more effort for her to form her hair into dreads.
I don't know. What is her account? I would like to see her account.
Groceries.
Oh, there it says it. What's it say? Cool Kid Kittler? Does that say Cool Kittler? Cool Kids 13 with 2 Z's. Cool Kids 13. That's right. Tell some truth in a world full of lies and reviews products. Loungewear. A cult doesn't have 77 million people. That's called a revolution. A cult has a few hundred people with mask on and using pronouns. She got us there. I didn't see that one coming. She has some of the weirdest political takes. I've got her muted right now in case the music comes on. Imagine a bathing suit under this. Some of y'all still haven't figured it out yet. A woman will only submit to a real man, never to a beta. Tell me I'm wrong. Hope what you ate today was worth being fat this summer for. She's full of hot takes. Who supports Trump and wears dreads? Haha.
And who supports Trump and wears dreads? Ha ha ha. Is that funny? That's funny to you?
A little bit.
Your guys' sense of humor just never ceases to amaze me. So first off, it's crazy that it's always the liberals who want to point out the skin color. And then you called me a woman. I keep asking you guys, have you figured it out? If you have, I truly would like to know what that even means. Can you put it in the...
Okay.
Tell me
that makes
what
sense.
you guys have come up with. What have you decided? And I wear dreads. Yes. I'm so glad your eyeballs are working. And of course, I support Trump. That would be an insane thing to not. I guess your comment, you thought you like got one on me. It's so bland. I mean, if you want to get on here and comment and like talk shit, can you come up with something more original? It's getting boring at this point.
So no response.
Trump and
got it. No revenge because what goes around always comes back around. $100% natural beef tallow cream. She's a good one. Inflation is down. Job growth is at 93%. Eggs down to $1.83 a dozen. What fucking world do you live in? When's the last time you seen eggs at $1.83 a dozen? No fucking way. No fucking way, dude. That's 15 cents an egg. Trump's ordered troops to raid the Vatican tunnels. Oh, of course. It's all happening now. Haters will say this is a fake video. I know it's real. I know it's real. Only haters. Dude, the last time I was in the store, I think they were like $6.99 or $7.99 a dozen. Corn pop. Just don't get caught being a hater. I saw that one of those famous YouTube doctors, I can't remember which one it is, went on with the anti-vaxxers in the 1 versus 20 or whatever, right? He went on with 20 anti-vaxxers, and it looks like it was a fucking shit show for sure. There's 2 more videos I want to watch if you want to hang out with me. One of them is this Brian Tyler Cohen video. Copy link address. It says Elon gets booed at his own rally. I haven't seen this one.
The federal government, like shocking, really. It's insane. Yeah, it's really wild. So,
what did he say?
It's insane. Yeah, it's really wild. So,
oh, he's panicking. He's panicking.
I mean, it was inevitable.
Oh, thanks. Zach says 8-ish in Central Kansas. I think ours were $6.99 or I think it was $6.99.
Few Soros operatives would be in the audience. Give my regard.
By the way, you realize this is like a non sequitur just to end any type of protest. Basically, he's saying there's no valid reason to ever protest me or my companies or anything I do. Because everybody that protests is a paid operative, right? It's the same thing with the Republicans. Their own constituents are showing and saying, hey, I live at so-and-so, I've lived here for 40 years, blah, blah, blah. And then as soon as they get some backlash, oh, paid protesters. Always.
Regards to George. Say hi to George for me. USA, 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 USA.
Not again.
We got another Soros sleeper agent there.
A non sequitur is like a concluding argument that doesn't actually follow from, like, people are legitimately protesting for these reasons and they're yelling things at him like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And he wants to jump to they're paid shills. I don't have to answer that, right? It's just a conversation ender that has nothing to do with the argument being made.
USA, 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 USA.
And like Elon Musk would never have these types of people show up originally to like when he does like a talk about SpaceX or about Tesla. These are not the type of people. The only reason they're actually there is because they're Trump supporters, and he supports Trump currently. Elon broke the economy. Elon broke everything. Elon broke everything. Yeah, so the only reason that the majority of those people are there is because they're Trump supporters. So to say that someone is like, they shouldn't be here, they're only here because they're paid, well, most of those people are only there because Trump told them to support you. Thank you for the donation.
Make sure that I'm understanding this correctly. You've got the richest man in the world, Elon Musk, on stage at this rally in Wisconsin, baselessly attacking George Soros for allegedly spending money to interfere in Wisconsin by hiring protesters, where Elon is literally illegally handing out checks to people in Wisconsin at this very event, which, by the way, is the exact thing that Republicans claim that George Soros does. If Elon Musk was any less self-aware, I don't think he would see his own reflection in a mirror. In fact, I asked Kara Swisher about this exact phenomenon just days ago. Here's what she had to say. Republicans have been really effective more broadly over the decades at finding villains. George Soros has been one, again, for decades. Sure. Is Musk not the...
How does he not know that he's the George Soros of the right? Like, how does he not... Like, he bought and paid for every fucking thing.
Just the same exact thing, if not worse, on the right as the very thing that Republicans have clutched their pearls about.
And not even literally the George Soros. Like, he's the George Soros of the right that the right wing thinks George Soros is.
Left
of course.
For decades?
Well, hello, they went on and on about safety of communications, and they just did the worst thing ever. And right. and they're like on Hillary Clinton. These people don't have, the hypocrisy is so thick. It's kind of ridiculous. And there's lots. We'll talk about that in a second. But yes, he's explicitly. Right. Keep this in mind. Every accusation is a confession with these people. Whatever they say, I'm like, oh, that's what they're doing. Right. So if they accuse someone of something, it's because that's what they're doing. Elon is exactly what they claim to have hated with George Soros. But he's explicit and right in front of you buying elections. That's what he's doing. That's what he's doing in Wisconsin right now. That's what he's doing everywhere.
He's straight up paying people to sign a petition in Wisconsin, which is basically just him saying he's buying votes, which is, the same scheme that he pulled in Pennsylvania.
That's right.
And it worked. Let me just tell you, it worked. By the way, well, thank you, Citizens United. It's legal.
I'll tell you what, if Elon Musk is that unhappy...
It's sort of legal. Originally, he said it was only people who voted, and it was pointed out rightfully so that was illegal.
About billionaires like George Soros dropping money in state elections, then he should tell Republicans to pass some legislation barring big money donors from politics. Hell, name it the Soros Act. But of course he won't, because he doesn't actually care about billionaires meddling in elections when he is the single worst perpetrator of the problem in this entire country. And of course, Elon's performance continued to be a disaster on that stage.
But I think the real issue is who's organizing and funding that. Like the same people that organized and funded the infiltrators, who were the hecklers earlier tonight. So it's whoever they are, and I guess we know some of their names, but it's really, Soros and a bunch of others. I'm not sure really sometimes I wonder, what is their goal? Like, what's their aim? I guess, is it common?
He acts like no one could fathom a reason that people might be mad at him. That's insane, dude.
Communism, I guess, is a part of it, or just, I don't know.
What's the left's goal? Is it communism? Yeah, dude, the left's goal is communism. If you're wondering what spending all day retweeting people like Charlie Kirk and Don Jr. on Twitter does to your brain, look no further than Elon Musk. Here's a hint for him, since he's apparently too dim to understand why most of the country hates him. He is cutting healthcare, cutting cancer research, cutting education funding, firing veterans, putting Medicaid and food stamps on the chopping block, gutting the Social Security Administration from the inside, and so much more. All the while, his own companies are getting fat government contracts. He is stealing from the poor to help his own bottom line. Hundreds of millions of people will be impacted while he personally gets richer. That might help him understand why he is so unpopular. And let's be clear, he is unpopular.
I mean, I have rarely ever seen any change of perception as dramatic as this one. I mean, Elon Musk's net favorable rating, it's dropped from +24 to -19 overall from 2017 to 2025. And look at among Democrats. He used to be beloved by Democrats at +35. Look where it is now, -91 points on the net favorable rating. That is a movement of over 120 points in the negative direction, falling through the floor. Now, among Republicans, he has gone up from +18 to +51, but that doesn't at all make up for the gap that the Democrats have completely fallen off the rails for Elon Musk. And among independents, the drop has been from +17 to -17. Look, Donald Trump isn't the most popular president in the world, but he is far more popular than Elon Musk is.
But sure, it must be because half the country is communist, and totally, definitely not because Elon Musk is a weird prick who is so off-putting he makes Eric Trump seem charismatic. And yet, despite everything Elon is doing to rip off the working class in America, he wants you to know that he's still the real victim here.
It's costing me a lot to be in this job. You had like Tim Walz dancing on stage showing a chart of Tesla stock, which is a really awful thing for him to do. Because what they're trying to do is put massive pressure on me and Tesla, I guess, to I don't know, stop doing this. It's my Tesla stock and the stock of everyone who holds Tesla went roughly in half. I mean, it's a big deal. So not only am I not getting I'm not getting paid, definitely not stealing money, and would never get away with it. But the value of my Tesla stock is in half. So this is a very expensive job, is what I'm saying. But I think it's you're welcome.
See, this isn't about you, and it never was about you. Elon's priority, as it's always been, is his precious stock price. Elon has overseen roughly 50,000 cut jobs, overseen the buyouts of another 75,000 Americans who likely fear their jobs would be eliminated anyway, and is planning to fire another 170,000 people. And yet this guy has the audacity to stand up there and offer crocodile tears and a quivering upper lip that his stock price is falling? Give me a break, dude. If you can fire people at will, including veterans, seniors, doctors, scientists, regular hardworking Americans, then spare us the sob story about how you have less stock assets to borrow against. But I want to throw to one more clip. And
Jesus Christ.
It's Sean Duffy, the Secretary of Transportation, who inadvertently said the quiet part out loud while advocating for the audience to vote for the Republican candidate in the Wisconsin Supreme Court race, Brad Schimmel.
Get your 5 or 10 friends to the ballot box on Tuesday. And if all of you do that, you get your friends to the ballot box because this is a low voter turnout election. Bring your friends, bring your family, and if you all turn out on Tuesday with your friends, we are going to win in Wisconsin and send a message to the radical left. Don't mess with Trump, don't mess with Doge, don't mess with Elon, and don't mess with Wisconsin. Let's get it done, everybody. God bless.
Did you catch what Duffy said at the end? Send a message to the left not to mess with Elon. Let's be clear about what's happening here. Musk is using Wisconsin as a test case, wherein he bribes voters to participate in the Wisconsin Supreme Court election, and if it works, he exports this strategy to the rest of the country. He already did it in the presidential election, but now is where he learns whether or not he can do it in every
election in the United States.
State across America. Wisconsin is the proving ground for him, and Sean Duffy knows it, and he frames this race as a way for the left not to mess with Elon Musk, who Duffy and the rest of the GOP know is their human wallet in every election moving forward. So I would ask people left, right, and center, if you think it's a good idea that one billionaire, the richest man in the world, buying every election in America moving forward is a good idea. If not, which I presume you don't, especially considering this is a billionaire who is hell-bent on serving himself, his businesses, and his own bottom line, then we need to deliver that message on Tuesday, April 1st, that our elections are not for sale, our Supreme Court seats are not for sale, our democracy is not for sale, and that we have to vote for Susan Crawford. And the way that we do that is by turning out as many people as humanly possible. So if you know anyone in Wisconsin, now is the time where we need you to do the hard work of reaching out to those people and making sure that they have a plan to vote and everybody who they know has a plan to vote. Every single person matters here. So if you're mad about Medicaid or food stamps or veteran firings or cancer research being defunded, if you're mad that the stock market is tanking and your 401k is plummeting and the economy is contracting and a recession is on the horizon, if you're mad that the only thing this administration is spending its time on, despite promises by Donald Trump to lower costs on day one, is trying to invade Greenland or Canada or Panama, then this is your outlet. This is how you fight back. Wisconsin is the whole ballgame right now, but it's on all of us to play a role. We have a few days left to vote, so let's win the momentum as we head into midterms and fight to take this country back. Before you go, first, if you enjoyed this content,
he's going to try to buy every election.
Subscribe to this channel. The subscribe button will be right here on the screen.
Around the U.S.
The reality is that we're now in an environment where this administration can lean on any of the social media platforms to suppress certain voices if they don't like critical coverage. That means my longevity here is in the hands of a few tech billionaires.
There's one that's kind of a nerdy video, but I want to see this update. So, I've talked about Trent Palmer before. He's like a pilot. They got his FAA license, and they appealed it, but he said I lost. So apparently the final update's here on his appeal.
I
realized after a few comments recently that I'm way past due on giving you an update on my FAA case. To anyone that's unfamiliar with it, about 4 years ago, I had made a low inspection pass at a friend of mine's backyard that I was invited to land at. Decided not to land. Neighbors called me in, turned into this big fiasco. And basically, I continued to appeal through the different levels of first, to the FAA, then the NTSB, and then we got out of that whole system to a civil court, which was the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals in Washington, D.C., hoping we could get heard fairly, and unfortunately.
So basically, the way he was fucked is like, you're allowed to make a low pass to view the inspection, to like do a visual inspection of where you're going to land. And during that inspection pass, you're supposed to decide, is it safe or is it not safe, right? Is there a cow in the middle of the runway or is there not? But you got to get low enough to observe. Like if you land and hit something, they would have said you should have done an inspection pass. So during this inspection pass, he decided not to land. So it goes, and the neighbors report him of the guy's property that he was going to land at for flying too low. And basically when he takes it to the FAA, they say, oh, no. No, this guy didn't jump out of a plane while it was flying. They say, no. That's not an inspection pass for landing because you didn't land. So you can't say that's an inspection pass for the low pass because you didn't land. And he's saying, I didn't land because it didn't pass the inspection pass that I did. And they're saying, no. If you would have landed, that would have been a valid inspection pass. But because you didn't land, we can't prove that you were going to land and that you weren't just flying low for no reason. It's the dumbest argument ever. I don't think they should have pulled his license, but they did. The guy that jumped out of the airplane while flying it was a different guy, but everybody covered it.
They ruled against me on all fronts, and I was hit with a 120-day suspension. To anyone that's been following along, you guys know the suspension was never the reason that I truly was appealing. I wasn't really too worried about that. I actually already served the suspension from August to December of last year. It was a non-event. The big thing I was...
Oh, there's Bert's only fucking follower. How's Hilda? Bert's only supporters in the chat tonight.
What I was fighting for here was my fear that the precedent set from my case could have wide-standing weight that could kind of affect our freedoms as pilots. The reason I even appealed in the first place when originally the suspension was given by the inspector. This inspector was an airframe safety inspector. He wasn't an ops guy. He didn't collect any data. They didn't have a single piece of evidence. He had one iPhone video of...
Wait just a second. The happy couple. Oh, Robert and Hilda. Awesome, Jack. Oh, you hit your wife one too many times and so hard, her whole goddamn chin is in the back of her neck. The fuck happened there, Robert? Ease up, buddy. Goddamn. Her chin's not supposed to be part of her spine. Holy fuck. America. This whole podcast sucks and the host is so bad. I watched the retard so you don't have to, Robert.
A security camera video, which didn't meet the best evidence rule. So to us, it was a no-brainer. They don't have anything, so of course we're going to appeal. After going into that hearing with the administrative law judge from the NTSB, at that point, it had gone to a hearing, and I was ruled against based on that. And that's when the precedent got set, and that's when the scary and dangerous part came up. And at that point, I started making videos about it. As we worked our way up past then into the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, we had appeal briefs written by the Amici Group, which was the AOPA, EAA, Alaskan Airmen's Association. I had separate appeals coming in from senators. We had a very strong appeal. All this is public info. If you want to look it up, you can read through them if you're into that type of stuff. But we thought we had a really good...
You can't... So what this is going to do, the reason that he decided to sue or to fight it in court, what this is going to do is it's going to discourage pilots from making low passes and observing the landing zone, which is part of their rules. Like, they have to observe the landing zone to make sure that it's safe and free from obstructions. And if you're going to get in trouble if you don't land, then people are going to not make these passes, and it could make it actually more dangerous.
good chance. And it was pretty disappointing that the court requested an in-person argument, so I had to fly my attorney and his assistant or secretary out there, did a whole in-person argument of my case, and from everything that we can tell, it seems like they didn't deliberate at all and they just rubber-stamped government. It was an interesting timing on my case because one or two of my appeals kind of focused on this deference that in the ALJ, the administrative law judge's ruling on my case, he basically deferred to the FAA. He said, I'm not sure how to handle this, so I'm going to defer to what the FAA says. And that's not how these two systems work together. The NTSB is there to check and regulate and govern over the FAA.
Not defer to.
Not defer to them and say, you guys do what you want. So that was the part that we found unconstitutional, and that was part of our appeal. Now, I'm not sure how many of you guys followed along with the Chevron doctrine, which dealt with government deference to other agencies. It was with the EPA. But basically, that case was about to go through the Supreme Court, and if the Chevron doctrine had gone through prior to mine, it definitely would have had an effect on my appeal. So it appears that they just kind of rushed through deliberating to get my case off their desk. Unfortunately, I don't know, maybe it was just poor timing on our part, poor luck, but either way, they ruled against me universally, and I lost the case. Now, so the big question, what does this mean? Because again, and I will continue to reiterate this, the suspension was not the problem here. My concern was the wake left behind my case, and we're already starting to see some other cases that...
It's basically a bad case for anybody that wants to do this. It took at least 3 hours to get ready for that photo shoot. Are you kidding me? At least.
That lead us to wonder if...
Hey, no hard feelings though, right? Tell Hilda to keep her chin up. Oh, I don't want to chew down in the dumps.
Like what direction the FAA is going here. I don't know if you guys heard the AOPA had actually released a news article about a pilot from Massachusetts that was landing a float plane on the Connecticut River, and he was actually doing takeoffs and landings, and he came within 500 feet of a bridge. Someone reported him, and they're trying to impose a 120-day suspension.
So it's already affecting other people, right? He was trying to do a low pass to see which is very important in these planes because these are like off-road. These are short takeoff and landings. They land in like grass fields, and it's not like going to the airport, right? They land in grass fields. They land in pastures. They land in, national parks and shit.
Again, this regulation 91-119, the one that they got me on, states, except when necessary for takeoff or landing, you have to stay that 500 feet away from things. Now, any part of a necessary takeoff or landing procedure is allowed. Obviously, there's plenty of airports, this one included, that there are structures within 500 feet of the runway. So obviously, when you're taking off or landing, you're going to be within that distance. And also, if it's a necessary training step, like a go around, a missed approach, practice approach, any of those inspection passes, those would all fall under necessary steps for a landing. Now, the problem with this float plane pilot and this whole ordeal is that he was actually taking off and landing. And again, with my case, the only argument that the ALJ had was that in the event that I'm trying to fall under that except when necessary, that exception, the duty of proof is on me. So I'm basically guilty until proven innocent, and he said we weren't able to effectively prove my innocence,
which is backwards, right? We weren't able to prove my innocence because if he would have landed and put himself in danger, he would have won this case easily.
Doesn't feel how due process should go, but with this case with the Massachusetts pilot, it's really concerning. The fact that he's getting the 120-day suspension.
There's also a real in the aviation world. There's also this really weird, strong stigma around mental health, right? So it was the same. It's the same in the way it used to be in the military. So right now, if a pilot admits in any way, shape, or form that they have an issue with their mental health, they're grounded. And their medical card is usually pulled. And it's incredibly hard to get it back, to get your medical back, which some people would say that's great. But that also discourages people from seeking mental health treatment. So would you rather have a guy that, goes to a therapist and is taking his medication or doing his therapy or whatever, flying your plane, or a guy who's still going through all that, but is too scared to seek out any type of treatment and instead struggling with it with drugs and alcohol or whatever the fuck he's doing, right? Like there's got to be some middle ground here.
It does imply that they looked at mine, are they using my case as precedence? I haven't got confirmation either way if they are or aren't. I know that the FAA...
If you have to report all doctor visits you have, right? So if you just go see a therapist, even though they probably can't pull your records and look about what you talked about or whatever, you're just fucking no medical. You're done.
The AOPA had concerns of this. So it's just a slippery slope. I don't know what the solution is to this.
Obviously, that guy was landing and still got within 500 feet of a bridge.
Senator Budd pushed through that Backcountry Aviation Protection Act, which we did make enough noise, and it did make it in. However, the way that it was placed in, or the verbiage that they adopted it with, kind of allows the FAA discretion if they want to use that, which seems ridiculous to me. But basically, we did add the verbiage of go-arounds, practice approaches, missed approaches, and inspection passes as necessary parts of a landing. And so with that verbiage in there, it would have protected myself as well as although the other pilot that he was landing, I have no idea where the logic is for his case. We did get one part put through completely, though, and that's the part that the FAA cannot enforce 91-119 onto a pilot in a way that would have forced the pilot to conduct a landing that's unsafe. So basically, the way that they ruled my case was that since I didn't land, it was illegal. If I would have landed, it would have been fine. Well, I said that I didn't like that landing spot and opted to move on, as I was advised to from the FAA's off-airport ops guide, and they said, well, you didn't land, so it's illegal. So they can no longer do that. So we did make a little progress there. There's still a lot more work that needs to be done. So hopefully, if you're not yet, it's the organizations like the AOPA specifically, but the EAA, the Alaskan Airmen's Association, these other associations that put money and time and effort into fighting for our freedoms, just make sure if you're not members of those associations that you sign up and join, because it's those.
Yeah, the joke used to be that if you check yes on any questionnaire, the yes is an acronym. It stands for your enlistment stops, right? When they ask you if you have thoughts of suicide or hurting somebody, hurting yourself, or not to mention you're in combat arms, like the whole point of it is to hurt other people.
Membership dues that make all of that possible, that continues to protect our freedoms as pilots. Anyway, that was a very long-winded explanation of my
Hilda F. Land. The F stands for, oh, fuck, where'd my chin go?
My FAA case. Unfortunately, I was not successful in defending myself or fighting the good fight. So what I've learned from this whole thing, in hindsight, I wish I would have called an attorney sooner, because I did sit down for a little informal meeting with the FAA when they said, was this you flying that day? I said yes. They said, were you within 500 feet of a structure? And I said yes. I was looking at a landing site, and my understanding is that's legal. If I had had an attorney, he probably would have advised me differently, and I wouldn't have just came out the gate and said, yes, I was within 500 feet. Here, I was just trying to be compliant, thought I was, flying under the regs, and it bit me. So anyone that deals with something like this, I will say 99% of the people that work at the FAA are great, and they're here to help. It's just when you get that 1% that are out there to get you, and unfortunately I got that with that inspector, and it made it up the entire chain. So it was an enlightening and discouraging experience, but we got through it. So anyway, that's my update. I'm still here at Legend. Obviously I have my certificate back. I'm fine. That's all behind me. We're working through a few little cooling things because we're blasting off to Sun and Fun in a couple days. So if you're going to be at Sun and Fun, make sure to come find me. I'll probably be at the Legend booth. We'll probably do a meet and greet at some point. If you don't follow me on Instagram, follow me on there. I will let everyone know what time I'll plan on being there to hang out at the Legend booth, and then
Oh, wait. Robert, you're really retarded. You're like legit retarded. You don't know that this photo is AI? When Elon Musk heard about a 7-year-old Lily Thompson, a girl battling a rare neurological disorder that left her unable to walk, speak, or even breathe without assistance, she was facing astronomical costs and fading hope. Lily's family received an unexpected lifeline when Musk personally pledged to cover every penny of her care, including pioneering surgery that could restore her chance to normal childhood. So you're just like full blown retarded. Got it. Let's see what else he shares. Uh-oh. Chinese Bert. Uh-oh. Chinese Bert. If he's all about America, he needs an American cartoon.
hopefully we can see you guys there. So with all that, you guys, thank you for tuning in. Thanks for carrying.
I don't know. He had 4 big toes for fingers on his left hand. The people are fucking retarded.
And paying attention to this case and making as much noise as we did, I think it did truly help, and it means a lot to me. So with that, I'm going to wrap this one up here. You guys know the drill. Like this video if you do. Subscribe if you haven't. Come be my wingman. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
I know you are innocent, and the way the consequence don't make much sense sometimes.
I can't believe he lost his appeal. It would seem like he probably should have won his appeal. I don't want it. Bert still does his thing on Rumble only or something. I don't know. He told people that because you guys won't donate, I'm going to have to get a real job. And people were like, okay, do it. But I don't think anything ever happened. I think it was a threat. And as soon as somebody called his bluff, that was it, I guess. I don't know. All right, guys, I'm out for the night. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for being here. Y'all have a good night. Everybody except for Robert Land and Hilda T. Land. Thank you guys for joining us. Have a good night. Support the stream while we're offline at coldbeer.fund. If you wanted to continue, we greatly appreciate it. And we'll see you around the next one. Have a good one, guys. Fucking Robert Land.
But I can tell you this about if this douchebag happens to see this particular show, you
Fucking sweet chin music.
balls to call out the people on this planet by name and tell them exactly who they are and tell them the rest of the world who they are. You don't have the forking balls. You don't have the balls.
Okay, Scott.
Here we go, I think I started some shit. Listen off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Listen off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet.
And they say that I'm a lunatic. Well, listen, bitch, I came equipped with a quick wit and a 6th sense for the stupid shit. Where my true believers? Y'all need Jesus. Praise the Lord, head to the extreme. All these false fucking prophets who profit off of gossip. Worshipping drums, cocking, begging for a throat deposit. Swinging fucking meat hammers like Thor in a thong. He's strapped to the shaft, beating his chest like he's King Kong. Starving for attention, I'ma make your gut burst. I'll be your huckleberry, I can quench that thirst. Baby eating lizard people, alien sex. What's next? Trump in a dress, fucking Flynn on his desk. A retard in a vest, climbing up 5G towers. Cause you told him if he did, he'd get fucking superpowers.
Here we go, I think I started some shit. Listen off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss him off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet.
I used to find clues too when I was high on shrooms. I found myself a tunnel that led to Jason Q's bedroom. Open his closet, I found some of his meat rockets. I strapped them to my shoes and then I flew through the roof. I found myself in orbit strapped to an F-16. High on amphetamine, with Trump in between. Put on a light coat of baby oil and saluted the troops. He tapped me on the shoulder and said, "This is gonna be it." Whoa, wait. Stop.
Have a good night, guys.